Welcome back, everybody, to FOWL Play. That is Fantasy Overwatch League Play. You're hearing the voice of me, your co-host, Heebee, joined here by Teoyama, and for the first time this year, Asmith. Asmith, how are you?
I am so good and not yet all sleep deprived.
Yes. Yes, that's right. We should update your gamer tag to Papa Asmith, in fact.
I changed it on Twitter.
Okay,
Let's
there you go.
go.
That's
True
good.
story.
That is the most important one. If you're going to really forward the Papa A. Smith brand, you want to get a good foot into the Twitter space.
Gotta get that Twitter handle.
Yeah, exactly. So good. So you have been raising a child. Teo, how was your week? Can it match up to raising a child?
It has been okay. I'm raising a new Achilles tendon in my leg,
Yes.
and I did have surgery, which was successful. They tell me I can't see the tendon or feel it, but
Okay.
I'm just gonna try and raise it as well as I can for now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited.
All right.
Tendon.
My Achilles, yeah. There used to be two. Now there is one. It is reconnected, and I'm hoping to, grow it into a strong, loving boy with broccoli and stuff.
Yes.
Broccoli makes it poop, just so you know.
Oh God, that's why my foot's been acting like that.
All right. Throughout the podcast, this is now a fathering advice podcast
Yeah.
with A. Smith.
Broccoli makes it poop.
Yes. All right. That's good intel. So for all of you looking to update on your draft day for kids. All right. Anyway, my week's been good. Thanks for asking. So what?
How's the green card coming? We good?
Actually, I did get that. So thank you very much. I'm very excited about that.
And your stool movements, how have they been?
I gave up broccoli a long time ago. I'm in good to go.
Real question here. Real question. Did they make you sing "Proud to be an American"?
No, I'm not a citizen yet, but I'm sure that will happen.
That'll come.
Yeah, no, I have to take my citizenship test eventually. I have to learn way more about America than any American school child ever learned, so I'll do my best on that. But that is not what we came to discuss, even though I do so enjoy discussing it with the two of you. We did come here to discuss Fantasy Overwatch League, which is going to be, hopefully, Fantasy will be starting up for you in within hours or maybe just a couple of days. But the Overwatch League itself starts in a couple weeks with, I'm trying to think of where the first homestand is. I don't
New
know.
York, baby.
It's in New York? Are you going?
Yeah, I just got press credentials
yes.
too.
Oh, sick.
Let's go.
Going on work money.
They said they will make it as accessible as possible for me because they heard that my Achilles is torn, and I was like, yeah, I'd still like to go. So we'll see.
Okay.
Hopefully my
like a boot
Achilles is
or
a little
crutches,
stronger
or?
then. Yeah, I have a boot, and then I have crutches as well because the first few days they had like an epidural plugged into my leg pretty much, so I couldn't feel a thing. Yeah, it was crazy. It was like a catheter. I was just carrying around like this ball of,
Oh, all right. This is easily the grossest foul play intro we've ever
it's
had.
not gross. It's good. Listen, recovery is important. What was gross was tearing it. But now I'm a healthy boy, kind of, and I'm I'm gonna go.
Okay, well, good.
For one day, I'm gonna head there.
All right, well, cool. So to bring it back to Overwatch yet again, I'd like to open up with a couple of just like some soft open questions. So what type of fantasy game are the two of you guys most excited for this season? Because it's not just your season-long leagues that we have anymore. We now have a really fantastic daily fantasy platform on Fantasy Owl. We have season-long coming back on highnoon.gg, as well as their unlimited leagues. And we also have Draft Buff giving us their season-long leagues with a bit more of a average score instead of best score that High Noon offers you. So what are you guys more excited for? Talk to me.
I am most excited for anything that has a phone app. That is what I'm most excited for because ease of access is a big thing for me. And if I can do it while I'm driving down the road, don't actually do that. I don't do that at all.
We don't endorse that whatsoever.
If I were to ever want to, I would be able to.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
And that's what I'm most excited about.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm most excited for daily just because I think it has the greatest opportunity for me to win some free jerseys. So I'm into that, and I also just think like the daily format is going to be the best for this season because like season long is going to be a mess with the schedule. So I think daily it's like the the risk reward is clean across the board, so you're not going to be benefited for like having a bad player who actually happens to be playing games that week, as opposed to season long where like who knows, like the schedule is just very confusing.
Yeah, it's true.
You mean like in football or basketball or literally every other fantasy sport where people have bye weeks?
Yeah, but that's like
Saying.
that's one bye week to deal with
Instead of like 3 to 4 weeks off in a row.
Yeah, exactly.
Basketball is insane. If you played fantasy basketball, that joker can be hard.
Yeah, that's end of season.
Basketball is a mess, but still, like I think going to daily like avoid some of the issues that you have there.
Sure, you just pick who's best of the day. I do appreciate the daily. Yeah. Now, am I going to daily be able to do this every day? Like, be like, oh yeah, I didn't get my roster for the day. That's gonna be hard.
Yeah. Oh, keeping updated on it would be tough. I mean, you only have like 2 days a week now instead of the 4, which is kind of nice to operate on. But
yeah, no,
I definitely.
I'm gonna rack it up in daily this year. I've got a feeling.
All right, cool. Is New York have sports betting?
So winning them.
Yeah. The New Jerseys are fun.
Yeah, they're looking really good. And then my other question I had for you guys before we get... Oh, by the way, on today's episode of Foul Play, we're going to be discussing rankings. So this is all in prep for draft day for you.
You should have done that. You should have done that at the beginning.
Yeah.
Fans are like,
this
we're talking about nerve juice over here. What are we doing?
This is episode 2. Asmith's back for the first time. We're real slap happy over here. Screw the soft questions. Let's get into our rankings so we can prep you for draft day, because that's what we're here to do on Foul Play. So, if you listen to any of the other podcasts out there, like By the Numbers or maybe D-Hockey's Fantasy Overwatch Underground, you have heard that we, as fantasy podcast creators, have been collecting together aggregate rankings.
Okay, some of you people.
Yeah, Asmith wasn't invited, but everybody else is.
What is this? It's not like I started the show or anything. Whatever.
We have been creating our fantasy aggregate rankings for each role of an Overwatch League player that you can draft. If you're new here, that's DPS, tank, and support. We also have given our own top 10 rankings individually that we're going to be discussing on the show. So the first one we have is DPS. Now, ours are pretty similar, but we have like a little bit of like off-the-wall stuff. So I think how we'll do this to keep this the most streamlined that we can do is I will read off what we have on the aggregate rankings, 1 through 10. And then if you have something that's really different on your list, like any one of us 3, then we can just like talk about it and be like, hey, this is why I think that was wrong, or this is why I have this person on my list. I think that would just make the most sense. We can just each talk about the players we want to. So
yeah, so we could insult the people that put Glister at 12.
Yeah, you got a real jail. Well, you're gonna be real pissed at me, but you got a real get out of jail free card with that. But okay, let's get right into it then. So the DPS rankings, going from let's go 1 to 10. I'll go downwards. So coming in at number 1 is Prophet, followed by Erster, Haxall, Carpe, Corey, Glister, Decay, Jin Mu, Libero, and then Godsby. Who wants to contest the aggregate top 10 first?
Glister, WTF. I'm sorry, but Glister is amazing player.
Sure.
London is gonna be hot trash.
Yeah.
Hot trash. If he has no tank line, if he has no people to support him, Glister will die. And he will die quickly. And they will and they're just gonna get rolled. And I'm sorry, but putting Glister in the top 10, I get like putting a rookie who we haven't really seen he hasn't played World Cup, so he hasn't played against OWL players. All he's played in is that, putting a rookie on a team of, straight rookies and Krillin.
The Overwatch League veteran on this team, by the way. Yeah.
Oh, isn't Hailey on the team too? Isn't he technically a...
yeah, he did get traded to that team. Yes, yeah, he did. He actually has played maps. That's
yeah, to contest that, like I don't have Glister super high, but I definitely have him in my top 10, and that's because so one thing is, even if a team is bad, we've seen players perform well. That happens in traditional fantasy sports all the time, but then even in the Overwatch League, like Washington Justice were messy as hell, but Corey was still putting up stats. And if Glister is a starter there,
And they won a lot of games in the fourth stage.
Yeah, but he was still putting up some numbers even before then.
Yeah,
Like
even on
playing time
Zarya.
counts a lot and talent counts a lot. And then the second thing would be considering the the fact that he hasn't been in the Overwatch League before and he's a rookie. We've also seen rookies put up a ton of numbers in the Overwatch League. So, just looking at the Vancouver Titans, like,
Yeah.
Glister had a really productive he has a really productive history with Gen G and playing against pretty stiff competition, a lot of whom are now in the Overwatch League. And I think if his playing time is locked up, then he should put up a lot of points this season.
Yeah.
Okay, I hear you, but I don't think rookies in season 2 should count because there just weren't enough teams in season 1. And teams were like the regions were there was a lot of visa issues and stuff. Rookies in season 2 were players who should have been in season. Like everyone knows Runaway should have been in season 1. Like that should have happened, but they weren't. So
Yep, that's right. They weren't. So I have Glister pointed pretty high on my list too, but pretty much for all the same reasons Teo did. I also think that like in terms of teams doing bad and resulting in still half decent fantasy points, I think that DPS are going to be that role that can collect those for you. I think it'll look worse on tanks and supports if your team is doing really poorly. So that's why I have someone like Glister, because I think he is extreme talent, and I am putting a lot of chips on him. Now, a
and I guess
player.
they're not getting points for deaths, right? They're not
Some
getting negative points.
some
Depends on, I guess,
formats
what
are.
yeah.
But on
Depends
High
on what
Noon,
format,
you're not.
but if he's not getting negative points for deaths, I guess that might be okay.
Yep, exactly.
Because
So
he's gonna die a lot. Just saying. He'll die a lot.
the prophet Papa Asmith has spoken.
Yeah, go ahead, Heebee.
Okay, I wanted to talk about, I think that Decay is absolutely the wrong Dallas Fuel DPS to be in there. The aggregate ranking has him at 7th place. We all know it starts with a Z. That's Zach. No, it's not Zachary.
I was like, have you lost your mind?
Now, I don't think that this next player, I think Doha should be in this top 10 ranking. I personally have him ranked at 9th, but that is just from everything we've seen of the meta so far. It looks like May is almost a must pick on so many different maps, and Decay was the one who played it on the Gladiators. I don't see that changing when he moves over to Dallas Fuel, especially because Doha has shown he's a very proficient Hanzo. I think the wrong Dallas Fuel player made the top 10. That's just me.
I think you're wrong, but it's
right.
not like I'm a Dallas Fuel supporter or anything. But did you not see Decay play last year? He was the best DPS on that team. And that was
I don't know. Did you watch the playoffs?
I would agree. I think Decay should be high. I'm not sure he should be top 10 because they have 4 DPS on their team and their coach is known for switching things around. So I'm not sure his playing time is certain, but he is the most promising DPS on their team. I think Doha is definitely a sleeper. The aggregate has him at 21, and I think he could provide a ton of value there.
Yeah, if not top 10, he shouldn't be 21.
One other person I wanted to touch on is Jin Mu. I think Jin Mu, so they have him on the aggregate ranked 8, and I feel like he could be a guy who has top 5 value. If you look at the other DPS on their roster, it's just him, Bacon Jack, and Leave, and I think we end up seeing Jin Mu and Leave as the starters, and Bacon Jack filling in sometimes as a Widow specialist. But Jin Mu kind of just like cemented himself as this versatile, talented projectile DPS last season, and he put up a ton of stats.
Very loosely.
I don't know about that. Jinmu's Pharah is nasty. His Hanzo is pretty nasty too. And Chengdu plays like this really aggressive style that does well for Fantasy Overwatch in particular. So yeah, I think it was mentioned like Jinmu was the second highest scorer in Fantasy Overwatch among DPS last season, and I think he's going to have top 5 value again this year since they didn't add anybody who really takes away from his role.
Yeah, I mean, I think Leave's gonna play and not leave. I think sorry,
why do we bring him back? Why do we bring Asmith back on this podcast? We knew what we were doing.
Look, I had to throw the dad joke in there while it was here. So, anyways, no, I've got Leave at 9. I think Leave is going to be I think Leave has very strong potential to be Rookie of the Year this year. Leave we've seen Lee perform at a high level. We saw him with China play against, Team China with high-ranked other teams, and he kicked butt. Look, Leave can perform at this high level. It's known, and he's a very flexible player.
I don't doubt Leave, but I think this is the same case with me and Glister and you and Glister. Is like, I don't count on Chengdu to have success. The meta right now is double barrier tanks, and Chengdu doesn't know how to play a barrier. Okay?
Look,
they refuse.
There's going to be less time to practice, meaning less scrim times for other teams to scrim against a team like that. Yeah. So teams are gonna have less time to prepare for Chengdu's madness because
teams had a season to prepare for Chengdu's madness.
Yeah, and then the meta shifted, so we have a whole new hero in this. Like the game changes drastically, and just because teams had a whole season to prepare for it doesn't mean it still worked. By season 4, it's not like Chengdu was still not getting wins because they were. Yeah. Chengdu was getting wins the whole time, like throughout the season. They were a middle-of-the-road team, and I think they'll be a middle-of-the-road team this year. Okay. And it's because of the madness, and they won't have other, the other teams aren't going to be able to scrim because they're going to be flying. They just won't be flying to China.
Hey, they got computers on the plane, okay? They can get a little bit of work done.
They say China and Tajikistan.
No!
Oh my god. So before moving on to our DPS sleepers, do you guys want to touch on any of the DPS you have ranked in your top 10 that are not in the aggregate? For Asmith, that would be DM. DM, Surefor, and Leave, which you already talked about. For Heebee, that would be Architect, Ding, Doha, who you already talked about, and for me, that would be Fleta.
I can lead with DM because I have DM at 3. Because I think he's that high of a talented player. I know everyone thinks Fleta's going to play, but Fleta's a little washed up.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. There's a good chance that Fleta's washed. Like
Fleta, if Fleta's completely washed up, DM is playing 100% of the time. DM, if in that talented of a Shanghai team, I mean, Shanghai has potential to have a top 5 team this year.
Yeah.
And if they are, and he's playing 100% of the time, he is most likely going to be a top 5 fantasy player. And I think DM and Fleta could play together in some metas.
Yeah,
they're both flexible enough to.
I think the fact that we each have a Shanghai DPS in our top 10,
but they're different.
Have a different one is probably a sign that each of them has a ton of upside, but there's some big risk there as well because they could eat into each other's playing time. Like Fleta may be washed. I'm not sure that he is, but it is true that we've seen DM be a better Widowmaker than he, and Ding be a better Pharah. So Fleta's kind of in this weird position where he probably should be downgraded on my list. I have him 6th right now, but I do think they'll all kind of eat into each other's playing time, and Shanghai will be like the shock in the sense that they're really good in real life, but not great for fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about that. There are no shock players.
Well, no,
Architect.
Heebee has Architect at 7, so you want to finish off with kind of elaborating on that a little bit?
I think this might be a consensus that we all have. Like, even Asmith, if you have DM ranked in the top 3 of DPS for this, like, I still wouldn't be that confident picking that person in, like, a first-round draft pick. Like, it's really tough, right? Like, even if he's that.
I'm going to pick a support in top.
Yes, okay, so sure. Let's say third-round draft pick or something, however it gets down to. Once you've made sure that your support ground is secure. But it's the same case in terms of me with Architect. Architect I have ranked top 7, mostly because I think he is the player with the... I don't know. I want him to get his spotlight. Maybe this is like just my, not even a homer pick. Maybe it's just my hopeful
willing
pick.
It to happen.
Yeah, exactly. By me putting him in the top 10, he will become a top 10 DPS. My only real grounding for it is meta-based. But because I think Rascal is like always in. If there is a May ever played ever, or even the chance of it, I think that Rascal plays. But then I want to know who goes alongside him, because I know Striker is an unreal talent, but if it's a Hanzo Reaper, do you play Striker? Do you play Architect? Or does Sinatra even play on this team? I don't know. I mean,
MVP, man. He's
I
just
mean,
gonna Doomfist out of nowhere.
yeah, exactly. Like Doomfist, not great right now, especially they nerfed him again. Rip. But I do think, yeah. Now that I'm talking about it out loud, my defense is crumbling around me, and my
Yeah.
confidence along with it, for sure. I think I would move him down, but I don't think I move him down that far. If he drops out of my top 10, I think Architect goes to 11, 12, like tops. Or
Yeah,
bottoms.
I feel that. So he's like an upside pick, and I think we each have a bunch of those guys on our own ranking, just because we're opinionated people. Like essentially, like there's a bunch of kind of sure things in the DPS realm. Like Prophet feels like a sure thing. Erster, Carpe.
Yeah, I
Jin
thought
Mu,
Carpe,
like
but
they
then
all
Asmith put
feel
him at
like
7. So
yeah.
Here's
They-
my problem. Good Philly, bad Philly, man. You just never know what's gonna happen.
Good
And-
Philly,
and-
bad Philly didn't have
and-
Fury and Alarm. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
man. This team looks unreal this season.
Yeah, but I mean,
And
dude.
Sato, admittedly, they still have
We're good.
Sato and only Sato. But
Sada's throwing himself off a cliff every
oh,
time.
seriously. Okay.
But then moving on from the last of the sure things, like Hawksall, Corey, and Godsby, who each feel like they have their starting spots locked up. Do you guys want to go through some of your sleepers? And these would be guys who are ranked outside of the top 15 for the aggregate, but who you think could provide top 10 value season long.
Why don't you kick it off? Because you've got 3.
Okay, I will go through them quickly.
Yeah, let's do sleepers quick.
The first one is Birdring. I feel like with him, you could also put Mirror in this conversation. I think Birdring could have this redemption arc this season where he's a starting DPS for the Gladiators.
Preach it.
And
Send
he
it to the
gets back-
heavens.
He gets back into his rhythm, and I've always loved Birdring's talent. I think he's a really good player. The Birdring Rascal duo is one of my all-time favorites. But yeah, I think he's proven that he has the talent to succeed if he gets the playing time. So there's a good chance there, and he's at rank 16 on the aggregate. So,
but number
he-
1 in
he
my
could
heart.
be up there. Yeah. And then the next one would be Doha, who was already mentioned. He could end up getting a bunch of playing time for the FOWL, and he has an impressive history. He's ranked 21. And then this last one, this is my boy, all right? And so he's ranked 46th on the aggregate, all right? But if you've been on our competitive Overwatch in the past 2 weeks, you've seen 2 clips of him. One clip
2 clips.
One clip is him clicking heads as Widowmaker. The second clip is him putting his feet in paper towel and tinfoil to walk in the snow. And that's my guy, Jerry, from the Boston Uprising. All right?
Jesus.
So, Jerry, his competition for DPS on the Uprising are Munchkin, aka Washkin, and Color Hex. All right?
Yeah.
I think Jerry's a more talented player than both of them. I think he
Based on
showed some carry potential for Meta Athena.
Based on that one click, man.
That one
of
clip,
the walking.
2 clicks.
No.
Okay.
I'm into Jerry, and I think at 46, like he could really be like your late round player.
Oh,
who
I
ends
hope
up
he is.
having a big season. So he's my fun hashtag super fun hashtag tinfoil hat. Tinfoil shoe
Shoes.
sleeper of the year.
Tinfoil shoe sleeper. There you go.
All right.
You only have upside here because you can't look like an idiot because he's ranked 46.
Yeah,
and you didn't put him in
seriously.
your top
It's
10,
only room to
He's
go
gonna
up.
be the last your last round guy.
He's gonna cost
Just
negative. He's gonna get you more points to spend on your daily fantasy rosters.
It's
when
gonna be
you put
great.
him on.
I can't wait.
Oh my word. Okay, I picked 2 sleepers. One, I have a player that's unanimously everyone's talking about a star talent, which is Sparkle, but he's ranked 38th, misses 2/3 of the season. I think he's a really good late pickup, though. I mean, especially
Just pick him up halfway through the season.
if you
Yeah.
can, or if someone doesn't draft him,
Who's
due to
gonna
my
stash him
advice.
That long?
Me, I don't know,
Yeah,
probably.
he doesn't turn
Mhm.
He doesn't turn 18 until pretty much
July.
June.
Is it June or July?
Yeah, May 31st.
Yeah.
Okay, May 31st.
Yeah.
And so that's Sparkle. I mean, he's been debated, and in essence. Like, we've gone through him a ton.
He's going to be great.
Yeah, whenever he plays. And yeah. But my second pick that I think actually has huge upside potential was ranked 42 on the aggregate, and that is Logix of the Toronto Defiant. Now, I have it on shaky bad authority in terms of rumors that Logix is playing now alongside Surefour with agilities flexing in sometimes. So I think Logix is low because I do believe that Surefour's a must start with Logix and agilities maybe shifting it up, Surefour bouncing back between roles. But I mean, if Logix can play a Hanzo to a high level, I think he can pick you up some good points in this meta. I think no one's picking him up in your drafts, so I think throw him in at the end of your lineup and you get huge value from that.
Or Trainwreck.
Right.
As a bench player?
All right, here's my last one.
We got to set up a bet based on Jerry versus Logic.
Oh, done! I'll take that bet easy.
All right, there we go. I don't know what we're gonna bet, but we got to figure out something.
If you have suggestions of the bet, then make sure you talk to us in our Discord or on Twitter. At us, let us know.
Loser shaves their head.
Oh God!
I'm not doing that.
We'll think of something good. It'll be real good.
Yeah, we got to come up with something.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely interested in that because
Yes.
my boy Jerry is gonna crush. All right.
Well, he's got more chance of starting than Logic. So
Exactly.
I give you.
That's what we count on.
Oh, thank Mr. Logix. Okay, Asmith, what's your sleeper?
All right, my sleeper is Yaki. Yaki was a very good talent in Contenders Korea. Believe he was with Runaway.
Yep, he was Runaway.
Yeah,
Runaway. Yeah, he was with the good Runaway team. He's currently ranked number 19 in the aggregate. He's going to be Florida's starting DPS. And then probably either Saya and BQB. They probably won't play together. I just don't see Saya and BQB playing together again.
Right now, I like that pick, actually. I see Saya as the kind of the mainstay starter and Yaki and BQB kind of switching in and out. But Yaki, I like, besides Sombra, I never was really that impressed by BQB.
Yeah.
So I feel like that spot is probably Yaki's.
Yeah, I think you're probably going to see Saya and Yaki, and if Florida has in fact turned it around, don't count on it.
Yeah, no, never count on that.
Yaki, I mean, they're going to be better than Boston. So
there you go. All right, cool, good pick. All right, well that's we'll put a bow on the DPS then, because that's probably the one that we could debate the most. There's easily the most, I think, variance, and there's a DPS. There's also just way more DPS players. So we'll move on now to what some would say, all three of us included, is the most important role on an Overwatch League fantasy roster, and that's the supports. So, the aggregate rankings has my boy, my favorite player in the Overwatch League, has Shaz, ranked number 1 first overall. I don't agree with that, but that's where he's ranked. Number 2 is Violet. Number 3, Jonak, Alarm, Shu, Twilight, Dogman, Kariv, Aim God, and Bebe. So that's our top 10. Same deal. If you got problems, let's talk about it. Teo, why don't you start us? Oh,
go.
Yeah, Teo, why don't you kick
All right, every time.
All right, I'm on it. I would just say, like, after the top 3 are just consensus across the board. We all have. I think our order is the same, actually. We each have Violet, then Shaz, then Jonak, and it's pretty simple. None of them have competition at their role on their team. Each of them has shown that they can just take over games. So those are just like easy bets, the top 3 picks in every draft this year. After that, it gets a little messy. I actually have Kariv as my 4th.
He's my 5th. So.
And I love the guy. He's super talented. You know, his Widow clips, come on now, dating back years. He's really great. So I think
not playing Widow with Rolllock, so.
Oh, he's definitely not. But his Zenyatta is pretty much a Widow. So I love Kariv, and his Ana's nasty too. He has no competition for flex support on Toronto.
That's huge for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think like that's always been his problem, is when he was playing with the Valiant, he would lose playing time, and then, you know, next thing you know, he's not putting up a ton of points. But when he did play, he's always scored well because the guy has insane bloodlust and just wants to go out there and get kills. So I've got Kariv high. The other ones that I have a little against the consensus would be I have Kyo and Unko higher than the consensus do. So
Kyo's way too high
Kyo,
on your
I
list.
have him at 6. I just think we've seen him be really talented, and his playing time should be secure. They have no other flex support on Chengdu, and I've just kind of liked him. I think this is it's a playing time pick, and it goes to questions about the competition for flex support of some of the other players that I have lower down.
Yeah.
As for Unko, I think he's kind of one of those guys. Part of it is like French allegiance, but also he's just always been kind of like really bloodthirsty. He's kind of a prick, and I kind of just dig that from a flex support. I want my flex support to be kind of a jerk, and he just wants to go out there and do damage.
I want
and
him to
just,
kick sand in my face on the beach, dude.
Yeah,
I
I kind of just dig it. I think Dallas should be a lot better this year. I think Gamsu is a huge pickup, and
if he's
Decay
not
was
washed.
as well. Gamsu is just he's a great leader. That's like I feel very comfortable with that assessment. You know, the guy dating back to League of Legends, he was cooking meals for his team. He wanted to be a professional chef. Like that guy just brings teams together. He has an adorable dog. I think the team is going to play a lot better with him, and that's going to allow Unko to play a lot better as well. There's questions over whether Harry Hook or Closer will play together because Harry Hook has great aim and could play some BAP. But I think Unko is the best flex support and the only true flex support on that team, and he should get all that playing time.
It makes more sense.
I second your Unko statements. I have him at 8, so just one below you. I think he doesn't really. I don't think he has competition. So, and with FOWL being significantly better than last year, I second all of those statements. And for the viewers who obviously can't see us, I put my Dallas FOWL hat every time we talk about the FOWL. So it's just anytime FOWL gets mentioned, I have to throw the hat on.
Let's go.
All right. Well, let's jump off Houston or Dallas just for a second. Let's talk about the other Texas team. None of you nor the aggregate have Repel in your top 10. Tell me why.
Raucous.
Yeah.
One word, raucous. I mean,
that's it.
No.
So you think the competition between Repel and Raucous is enough to push either of them out of the top 10 in terms of playtime?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's real enough. Raucous gets a ton of flack. You know, a lot of people focus on the size of his waist as opposed to the size of his the aim of his hands. You know, but no, I think Raucous is actually like, and he had good fantasy numbers last season. He's always performed pretty well as a flex support, even though Houston's always been a mess. And, you know, sure, he's had silly ults here and there, but I think Raucous is like a talented enough player and important enough to Houston's chemistry that he will play a role on the team this year. And I think that's just going to take away from Repel's value.
My biggest problem with Raucous playing is that their coach, the new coach, Harsha, came from Vancouver and brought Repel with him. That gives me some thought that Repel probably will play, but you just don't know. And I think whoever does play will probably be in the top 10. I think whichever one plays will end up in the top 10. And so
but even then,
it's hard to pick them.
Even there with Vancouver, they were known for splitting some of their flex support time. That was often because they were rolling, so they could just like sub in Repel for matches or for maps. But I think, you know, we've seen Harsha be on a team that's employed a rotation for their flex support, and I think it's feasible that it happens again.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. Cool. I see that. Is there anything else that everybody wanted to talk to on this top 10 list?
I would like to mention Pitocin. He is not on anybody's list, and I have him at 7 because I think he's better than creative. I think he's proved on the Overwatch League level that he is a very talented player, and he will be the one that plays for them. I don't necessarily trust their ranking I don't necessarily trust the coaching over at Seoul, so it's going to be interesting. I mean, it's possible you do end up seeing creative some, and that's actually, I had him higher even than Kariv, and probably I think I had him even higher in Twilight until I thought about it a little bit and was like, just in case. I think people are sleeping on Pitocin, and then my boy Coldest. How are we sleeping on him? I guess he's a sleeper, so we'll talk about him.
That's okay. I think
Yeah.
we're good to jump into the sleeper section.
Okay,
The support.
because I think having Bebe in the top 10 is insane.
Wow. Okay.
Like I personally think Bebe being 10 is a little crazy.
He was one of the best
Coldest
fantasy scorers last season.
Yeah, baby, it was
He
nasty.
was, but just because he was one of the best fantasy players doesn't mean he was one of the best supports. And you ask around the league, and it's not notable that he's been one of the best supports. Coldest has been talked about for forever, and as soon as he aged in, which he has now, you know, everybody was going to pick him up, and I think he's going to be a nasty support. I think he's going to have good chemistry with Gushui too, with them both being Chinese. It'll help with the chemistry and probably help with communication and whatnot. So Coldest may not start right away just because of if he hasn't learned, because I'm assuming they're going off Korean.
Yeah.
Because it's only Gushui that's the other non.
Actually, in an interview, I think I heard that they were speaking English. Was what they were doing.
That's awesome.
It was because it was like they both learned it as a second language or whatever. So
like it makes sense because the universal language would be English in this case, because it would make sense that every player learns English because you don't know what team you're getting traded to.
It's what they taught me in my citizenship class.
USA baby.
Yeah, and then just to go off of that, I think that it is Coldest is a valid enough reason to downgrade Bebe a bit, and it actually makes me more interested in two of the players in Heebee's top 10 who didn't quite make my top 10 but are probably my top 15, and that's Gangnam Jin and Myunbong.
So both
Gangnam Jin for Florida Mayhem, his only competition for at the role is
Byram.
Byram or Biram. And you know, he's
it's not or, it's just Byram.
I don't like that. All right, I don't like that one bit. But yeah, and so Gangnam Jin, he's from Runaway, and I think his upside is a lot higher than the guy whose name I don't know.
Right.
And for Myungbong, he's the only flex support on Boston's team, and
really
I think
good player on Boston's team.
And yeah, well, besides our buddy Jerry,
All-Star Rookie of the Year, Jerry.
But no, I think Myungbong,
I want to lose this bet now.
Coming from, I can't wait, dude. It's gonna be
you have to wear like a mouse hat.
Yeah, I'll have to go to a homestand in a full LA Valiant costume or something.
It's gonna be the Harry for Jerry bet. You're gonna have to get like a fake handlebar mustache and wear it around town. But yeah, coming from O2 Blast, like Myungbong has shown upside as well, and as the only flex support on that team, like he's not going to have the same issue that Boston did last season where Persia and Aim God were swapping in and out. Like he's going to be the only flex support, and he should be able to put some work in. So
Gosh, Persia, that one worked out so well.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Okay, so yeah, that's Gangnam and Myungbong too. I think both of these are just like, in terms of why I put them so high, it's just talent choices. Like I think flex supports, since they score the highest out of any role player, I think that they have the greatest disparity, and if they do poorly or if they do well, and I think individual performances can really pump up their points. That's why I have them so high.
How do y'all not have Dogman so high? That's my question. He's the only flex support.
I don't know. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I still think that they're going to pick up another flex support. Like, I don't trust that Dogman's their only option.
Not allowed anymore. Like I don't think they actually can pick anybody else.
Oh, I guarantee they can't. The final, I think the cutoff date is like it's like 2/3 of the way through the season. It's like the signing, is when the signing window closes.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, in terms of their Twitter announcements, they need to get to work quickly. But I don't know. I don't know otherwise. But so yeah, we'll see. But
changing our rankings.
Let's.
She's changing rankings midway through. I love it.
Yeah, exposed.
We're done with the top 10.
Yeah, let's do sleepers. yeah, Asmith, why don't you talk to me? Well, you already talked about your sleeper, which was
I talked
Coldest.
about Coldest.
I want to talk about mine, and that's the man, the literal legend, not who knows living for how much longer. He's ranked 35 on the list.
Oh, okay. He's not that old, man.
He's ranked 35 on the list. That's probably how old he is in real life. It's Ryu Jae Kong. Ryu Jae Kong, known as the true historians. I think I put him as a sleeper here because I do think that there is a slight chance that he gets played alongside Twilight. I think that there's a chance that, like, sometimes we see two flex supports play when Baptiste Zen is the meta. Both of these heroes require some aim. That being said, Slime is unreal. I don't know if that ever really would happen. That's why I have him ranked low, but still as a sleeper. So that's my sleeper pick.
I dig that. I really am into that timeline where Ryu gets to start for a lot this season. So
Cool.
I could support it.
For Ryu Sexy Hong.
Sexy Hong.
Ryu
I
Jae
forgot
Sexy.
that's his new
Ryu Jae
Twitter
Sexy.
handle.
Ryu
Ryu
Jae
Jae
Sexy.
Sexy.
Yeah.
Ryu Jae Sexy. I am in for like a renaissance of sexist songs.
Oh god! All right, Teo, talk about your sleepers,
That
please.
came out wrong.
How else would it have come out? All right,
My
Teo, go
sleepers,
ahead.
it's actually I've got 3. Two of them, Krillin, who's ranked 21, and Izayaki, who's ranked 16. Both of them are likely starters, but they have competition at their position on their team. So they're just like classic sleepers. You don't know what you're gonna get, but there's a good chance that they end up performing really well.
Yeah,
but
bit of a
they
dice
might lose
roll.
their job. Yeah. The other sleeper I have, Gray, who's ranked 17, I think is actually just like great value. If you can get him, like I'm going to be trying to get him wherever I can, pretty much, if he's
Interesting.
dropping to later rounds, because I just don't think there's another true flex support on Paris right now.
Yep.
Unless I'm mistaken, and they're signing somebody currently. Like Gray,
What's his name?
last season he played well. He like, I'm not sure where he finished overall, but I'm pretty sure he was in the top 15. And you know, I don't think he's the most talented player out there, but he's shown flashes, and if he's going to be getting all of the playing time as flex support, then I think he's going to do really well this season.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a good fantasy pickup. Like, a lot of these things when we say, I know people like really turn their heads, like, why on earth would a Paris Eternal player be in that running? But yeah, like, you do have to remember, these are fantasy points you're going after, and playtime is everything. So I think Gray is a really good sleeper pick.
Yeah.
But that's enough of the supports. Let's move on to tanks. We got to get everybody prepped for each role. Remember, we went over this in our first episode, but off tanks are definitely going to be scoring more than main tanks still in this format. Unfortunately, we're not counting final blows, which is really the only way they would contest. But we're still tracking damage, so keep that in mind when we're going through our list. The aggregate rankings are as follows, with number 1, Choi Hyo Bin, second is Janu, then Fury, then Space, Rhea, Void, Meko, Krong, Michelle, and Nevix. Choyobin is ranked number 1 on the aggregate, as well as all 3 of us, despite rumors of him maybe losing some playtime. I think season long, he's just definitely an unbelievably good pickup, should be up there. Number 2, we also have all the same across the way as Janu. Number 3 was Fury. Asmith, you also were in agreement there. I wish I would have put him higher, but I didn't. I kind of forgot. Anyways, let's jump into the book. I have him at 4. He's still high on my list. But Asmith, why don't you talk about this list? Do you disagree with anything? Are you surprised by how similar it is?
I'm not super surprised how similar it is. My only thoughts, I have a couple of main tanks in there.
Yes,
because I do think a couple of main tanks will be able to slip in. Gushue did amazing last year. I'm not 100% sure if he was top 10, but he was up there. And now, granted, a lot of that was goats, and he was swinging hammer a lot. So
swing hammer good.
Yeah, but if Monkey comes back in the meta, A, Gushue is an amazing monkey, and B, Monkey gets a lot of elims, dude. They jump around and zap, and then they don't kill. Final blows don't matter.
Right. No.
Exactly. Yeah, I kind of dig that actually.
So I have Gushue and Mono. I mean, they're 8 and 9. So it's not like I have them like, too crazy, but I do think those should probably be your first 2 pickups.
When you say Winston is like coming back, I don't know if I could ever agree that Winston would come back, but I think Wrecking Ball fills that same role like better. Like, and I think, man, maybe Aming should be ranked up higher in my list, but I don't know. But the True Ball, the Giga Chat, the one True Ball. But I think he should be higher. Okay, Teo, talk to me about this list. Anything really surprising to you?
Not really. I think the kind of like the top 5-ish, we pretty much all have similar players here. Just the order changes.
Yeah.
I actually have Fury a lot lower than everybody, and it's the same situation as Alarm, where like I think Boombox and Poco are talented players, and I see them rotating in and taking away value from Alarm and Fury. I still think Alarm and Fury are the more talented players, and I still have Alarm and Fury each in my top 10, but I have them a little bit lower down because I just think they're going to lose playing time in spots, whereas everybody who I have above, Meko, Rhea, Michelle, Space, Janu, Choyobin, they all seem locked into that role and getting that value. One thing that I think is going to be...
luckily Cool Matt got dropped, so Meko's got one less competitor.
Oh, man. No, like, and one, I think, I'm surprised that the aggregate has Michelle at 9. I feel like Michelle is just gonna... He feels like one of the only players on Seoul besides Prophet who is going to be a lock for playing time and has proven that his performance can be consistent.
Well,
so I have Michelle at 4, and I'm pretty...
So if you think back to the playoffs when Seoul played, they definitely played Marvel on the Sigma. So if we have Sigma Orisa, it could be Gesture Marvel is like the chance, which I think is why people are dropping Michelle down. I personally am not.
Isn't Gesture isn't his Orisa not that good?
I think his Orisa is one of his better heroes. Orisa Winston is good. His Reinhardt's was really bad.
Yeah, his Reinhardt's terrible.
His Orisa was like really good when they won the championships, but I don't know if that's Catch Lightning in a Bottle found an amazing performance, or if that's like, no, just his Orisa is just clean all the time. So,
wait, one champion?
When they won Season 1, and he played Orisa.
Did he play Orisa that much?
Oh, yeah. It was like Halt into Dragon Strike. That was like where that combo originated.
Such a nasty combo.
It happened like him and Prophet were just like, they were one mind when they were stomping on Philly.
And they're back together, so...
Yeah, they haven't separated yet, so we'll see.
And then my last note on this top 10 is I love seeing Nevix in there for all.
I have him at 7. That's so high.
And it's amazing. He's the only flex tank on Toronto, but like they have 9 players on their roster. I would not be surprised if they pick up another flex tank at some point. But I think Nevix is the man. He seems like he's great from an intangible character standpoint for the team.
Don't score fantasy points, but yes.
No. And I've been happy with his mechanics, but we've never really seen him be a dominant fantasy player or a dominant Overwatch player in general. So it would not be super surprising if he got replaced by a free agent at some point.
Okay, Teo, talk to me about Crom, because you have him ranked at 9th. The aggregate has him at 8th, but Asmith and I, neither of us put him in our top 10. Why do you have him ranked in your top 10?
Oh, well, it's pretty simple. He's the only flex tank on their roster.
Okay.
So the charge, it's just Rio and Krong came from O2 Blast, which is like, he's a fairly prestigious program, and he's just shown that he can man that role, and he's shown a variety of heroes. And I just think if you're a flex tank who's coming into this league and your team is so confident in you as a rookie that they don't even pick up another flex tank, there's literally only 2 tanks on the entire roster, then I think there's just a chance that you're going, well, it's definite that you're going to get playing time, but then there's also a strong chance that you're deserving of that playing time and a talented player, because they wouldn't go into that from a management perspective without being confident in his ability.
Okay.
So aside from just his performance, he honestly could be, but we'll have to see. Jerry, it's gonna be tough competition with Jerry out there.
I don't know why you'd
Breathe,
even
man,
sign up for the
just
ballot.
breathe.
Yeah, Jerry on there. Yeah, that's true. I think a more surprising pick. I am a lot higher on Hotba than most, and I only have him ranked at 10th.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty confident he's going to be starting for New York. I know people are thinking Bianca, but I don't know. I have confidence in Hotba. Call me crazy, but I think he at least would make my top 10 tanks. Another one is I'm saying it now. I have Note way too high. I need to get him out of my top 10. I have him at 8th,
No.
and I have him at 8th. I think there's a real good chance that this kid is a Diva one trick. I love him. He's my Canadian brother, but I am worried that he won't score super high in a meta like this. I would probably drop him out and push Crom up into my top 10.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think that's worthwhile. For me personally, I have Note at 13th just because I think his playing time is going to be certain. So I have him just ahead of people like Bernard and Gargoyle, and Elsa. But I also have him behind like Nevix, Hanbin, and Krong, people who I think are going to be, who have a little higher upside because we haven't seen Note perform super well on anything other than.
That's fair. That's fair.
Well, enough about the best players. Let's talk about the ones that aren't and we think could be. Tail, talk to me about your tank sleepers.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna take one, and that's Brusen or Brussen or Barusen, and so he's ranked 26th on the aggregate, and I think there's a high chance that he ends up being the starter who gets all the playing time at Flex Tank for the Uprising. So he played on the Netherlands World Cup team. He played for Angry Titans, and the other competition at Flex Tank for this team is Muffin, who played for Uprising Academy.
Muffin.
Yeah.
What is
and
it?
I thought it was Muffin, and I was like,
oh, maybe it's Muffin. I have no idea. Or Maufin. I don't think it's
knows?
Maufin. I'm gonna take that one off the board.
Also,
I'm not
he
sure.
is a two-way player as well.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
usually
yeah,
announce
I
that
just
he's a
think,
two-way
like,
player.
if I'm, I follow the money sometimes, So
Uh-huh.
if one guy is getting more certain money, then I trust his talent,
Yeah, all right.
And I just think, like,
you know financials here.
yeah, like, listen, when I was a kid, I dreamed of being an accountant, and now I'm a fantasy
What?
Overwatch analyst, okay? But I still keep that accounting
You're there.
big brain in there,
Almost there.
So yeah, I just think like from what we've seen from them playing, Brusen has higher upside, and I think he's the more likely season-long starter. And just getting all the playing time at Flex Tank is valuable, no matter what team you're on. Like as we saw from Elsa last season when Chengdu was a mess, but Elsa was getting all the playing time at Flex Tank. Just you get value there. So I think he's a good sleeper.
Cool.
That's fair. That's fair. I'll take Hawk because I know he's on both of our lists. And dude, Hawk is almost. I can almost say with for sure certainty that dude is gonna start. I've been high on Hawk for a long time since he was in Contenders. I was like, this kid is probably the second best NA off tank behind
Space.
Behind Space.
Yeah.
He's sick, and I've actually watched some of his games going up, and this kid is gonna be sick. I think he's gonna tear it up in the league, and I think he's going to be close to the same level as what Space is, and he's on a team that's gonna be better than Space's. So
whoa.
Is that
so you're not concerned about Gator and fried wiener?
As much as I would,
it didn't take much.
as much as I would be worried about the fried wiener, I'm just not. I don't think he's that great. He's okay, but I think Hawk's a better player all the way around. I think it's gonna be Hawk and Gator.
Yeah. Oh man, but benching Pogba, that just seems.
Yeah, I don't see Pogba getting benched, but I do see competition for the Flex Tank spot. Just because they have what other team has 4 tanks on their roster? There's very few.
Yeah.
So
which I think makes him a perfect sleeper spot, though. Like, I mean, he's not a top 10 pick, but he's up there, like in terms of could be close. So I think that makes sense.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, so one of the sleepers I picked was OGE. I actually don't have his aggregate ranking up right now, but like, I think this guy's got a chance to pop off as a main tank this year. And you, Asmith kind of sold me on some main tank points. So I am.
Thank you.
I had to put him in here as my sleeper, not in my top 10 rank, but that's the one I'm choosing for potential pop off this year.
Okay, he's 23rd in the aggregate.
Okay,
so
yeah,
that's probably underselling. I do think the Gladiators are going to be better than advertised if their DPS are actually
seriously, as long as that clicks, we'll be fine. Oh man, I have sacrificed so many goats. Yeah. They gotta be good. I have no more goats.
Sacrificing goats?
I have no more goats left. They gotta be good.
That's fair. All right, well, if we're talking about main tanks, then I got Fisher up here. He's Vancouver's only main tank, and he is an aggro player who demands a lot of resources and can rack up a lot of points if he doesn't retire mid-season or get kicked off the team. So there's
both valid options. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like Fisher's the effect. The effect of last year or even the first year. Like, you just don't know what's happening. And it's a risky pick, but he could be a big pick.
Yeah, less mental illness, more just attitude problems is what it seems like. But yeah, we'll see.
And then McGravy is my other one. Valiant's going to be trash, but I know some people are really not high on him, but I think McGravy is probably in that tier. He's probably mid-tier, tank, off tank, and I think that's gonna net him good points. He's also their only off tank, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say he's got secure playing time.
So he's got secure playing time. So McGravy could be a nice steal.
And who knows? Maybe Valiant will be the Bermuda Triangle of fantasy points again this season and just collect insane numbers for no apparent reason.
Doubtful.
Who knows? Hey, it happened last year on a 0-7 run, so who knows?
KSF, baby. It's all about the KSF.
And KSP. They're coming for you.
And then there's no.
I think KSP is actually a huge pickup for them, but we'll talk about that a different time. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of our rankings. The show's been going on for a while, so we should wrap this up real soon. But before we get into the closing stuff, I just want to, it's draft coming up soon. Hopefully, Overwatch League starts in a couple weeks, so make sure you're setting those up. First note, if you want to get leagues scheduled, one of the best places to do it is in our Discord. So discord.me/High Noon Podcast. In there is a fantasy league formation channel. Go in there, find other people to make leagues with at us. I'm sure I'll be jumping in a few. I'm sure Teo and Asmith will maybe be able to make it. They're a little bit less available for that. So, but if they want to, that's super awesome. Do that. There's different places to play now. HighNoon.gg hasn't quite launched, but should be launching very soon. So be on the lookout for that. Daily leagues the site will start looking pretty on FantasyOwl.com very soon. You can take a look at that. They also just announced that they're doing best ball leagues soon, which is kind of fun. Basically, you draft once and there's no trading, there's no bench or anything. You're just your team's set up there for the year, and they just kind of go off on that. I don't know. Best ball is like really big in baseball, I believe, in baseball fantasy.
Yeah.
So it's yet another way to play, which is awesome. The more ways to play, the better, and you can kind of find what you enjoy. So check that out. And then if you're playing on Draft Buff, which has Fantasy Overwatch, Call of Duty, and League of Legends, if you're playing there, make sure you sign up with code FOWLPLAY, all caps, one word, whenever you sign up to help to support the show a bit.
Yeah, we got to get new mics.
Yeah, no, we all do for sure. Okay, so before we go off, like we're not just pocketing that money. Anyways,
the 10 cents we get, nickel, man.
I'll bleep that out later, Draft Buff. I'm sorry. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for joining us. Before we go off, I just want to ask each of you in one, just give me your one piece of drafting advice for someone going in. Keep it short. Try to keep it around a sentence or two. But Asmith, what is your one piece of advice for drafting Fantasy Overwatch?
Supports and watch out for the potential of handcuffing players. Meaning getting, if y'all don't know what handcuffing players means, it gets getting like a player and then the other player that might play in his place. So that way you're guaranteed to have the one starter.
Okay, yeah.
That makes sense.
It's not a bad idea. Stash the backup. That's a good call.
And then drop them and pick up somebody who pops off later.
Okay. Teo, give your piece of advice. It can't be just draft Jerry.
Pick up Tom instead.
Okay, all right. So mine would be, just okay, not draft Jerry. I'd say early rounds, you draft the best player available. Then you focus on rounding your team out in terms of what roles you're drafting. And make sure that your feet are covered by paper towels and tinfoil.
Yeah, true. I think my piece of advice is kind of just read your draft lobby. If people are maybe not picking up flex supports and stuff like that at the start of this draft, and they see people seem a bit more inexperienced, run the market. Start picking up those players and just own that, because especially almost every league will have a captain slot or a utility slot, basically a player of any role that can be played. And if you can fill that with a flex support, you're in good shape. And then last one, we've mentioned this before in the podcast, but just cast your net wide. The fantasy season this year, along with the Overwatch season, is wild. Teams having long bye weeks, so try to get a good variety of teams on your roster so you can cover yourself. You don't want to have to put up a 0 in a slot. Or if you're playing with the settings where there's a minimum score, you don't want to have to put up a minimum score.
Unless you're playing me, put up those basics.
Yeah, and then, yes, please give Asmith the nice fly balls that he can catch anytime. So, yeah, thanks again for listening to Foul Play. Next week, next time we release an episode, it will be doing some mock drafts. So get excited for that, and look out for more content from us. Make sure you send in any questions on Twitter and on Discord. But all that being said, see you next time, and good luck in your drafts. Bye-bye.
See you.